Bitterness is the silent poison most Christians secretly carry. It's killing more spiritual lives than blatant sin ever could. You smile on Sundays, quote verses on Mondays, but deep down, you haven't forgiven that betrayal, that rejection, that moment they humiliated you, and you call it being cautious or just protecting your peace. But God calls it bondage. The enemy doesn't need to tempt you with lust or greed when bitterness already owns real estate in your heart. Ephesians 4:31 commands us to get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, and slander, not just manage it or pretend it's healed. Most Christians struggle with bitterness because we confuse suppression with deliverance. You buried the pain, you did not release it, and that hidden resentment becomes a breeding ground for offense, passive aggression, and spiritual stagnation. Bitterness thrives in silence. It loves when you keep things between you and God, but never confront the people who hurt you, or deal with your own pride that is keeping you from reconciliation. And here's the shocking truth. Bitterness doesn't just affect your emotions, it infects your prayers, your relationships, your worship, and your discernment. Hebrews 12:15 warns us that a root of bitterness defiles many, and that includes the innocent people you now push away because of wounds someone else caused. Another reason bitterness stays hidden in believers is spiritual pride. You believe you've grown past it, you've forgiven in your heart, but your tone still shifts when their name comes up. You still secretly want them to fail. You still replay the offense in your mind like a highlight reel. And let's be real, that's not healing. That's unresolved warfare disguised as maturity. And bitterness feels holy sometimes, doesn't it? You convince yourself your pain is righteous anger, especially when you've been hurt by other Christians or even church leadership. But Jesus didn't die so you could become a professional grudge holder with a cross around your neck. He said in Matthew 6:15 that if you don't forgive others, your Father won't forgive you. No exceptions, no theological loopholes. Some of you are bitter at God and you won't admit it. He didn't answer your prayer, didn't heal the person, didn't fix the marriage, didn't stop the abuse, and now your faith is dry. Not because you're under attack, but because you've quietly withdrawn from intimacy with Him while still performing the rituals of faith. Bitterness distorts your theology. You start seeing God through the lens of disappointment instead of truth. And Satan loves that. Because if he can't make you stop believing in God, he'll make you believe God has failed you. And here's the warning. Bitterness doesn't stay small. It grows, it spreads, it seeks agreement. And before you know it, your circle is full of wounded warriors who fuel your resentment instead of speaking healing. And your spiritual walk becomes a trauma echo chamber instead of a place of transformation. But here's the good news. Bitterness loses its grip the moment you truly surrender it. Not when you say the words, but when you let the Holy Spirit expose the layers, the blame, the hurt, and the ego. And you release it as an act of obedience. Not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you refuse to let the wound dictate your future. Joseph forgave his brothers not because it didn't hurt, but because he knew what they meant for evil, God meant for good. Genesis 50:20. And you'll never walk in that kind of freedom if you stay chained to your past with unforgiveness, disguised as caution. This is your moment to uproot what's been secretly strangling your spiritual life. Let go, release them, release yourself, and watch what God rebuilds from the ashes of bitterness.